Between mountains that touch the sky and seas that shine like mirrors, there is a land that seems to condense all the beauty of the world into a single territory. Italy is more than a country. It is a symphony of cultures, flavors, landscapes, and stories that span millennia. Every city is a poem, every village a living memory, every stone a witness of time. Here, art is not confined to museums. It breathes in the streets, in the squares, in the fields, in the sea. Exploring Italy is like leafing through a book written by gods and men, where each page reveals something that transforms the one who reads it. Today, we will cross the heart of Italy. From the magical waters of Venice to the mountains of the Dolomites, from the golden hills of Tuscany to the deep blue of the Amalfi Coast. An itinerary that is not only touristic, but emotional, sensorial, human. Get ready to feel Italy as if you were walking through it.
Imagine a city that has no ordinary streets, but canals, where houses seem to float and the reflection of ancient facades dances every day on the water. This is Venice, the first destination of our journey, a place where time runs slowly, guided by the gentle sway of gondolas. Arriving in Venice is like stepping into a liquid dream. Right upon landing, the air smells of salt, of wet stone, of stories that seem to have leapt out of adventure books. The sound is unique, the lapping of water against the banks, the echo of voices in the narrow alleys, the soft creak of wooden boats. Every detail carries centuries of memory. The gondolas glide through the canals like black swans, steered by gondoliers who seem to know every curve of the city as if it were a family secret. The rhythm is slow, contemplative. The reflection of palaces on the Grand Canal mingles with the clouds in the sky, creating a painting that changes at every moment. You walk across small bridges, some so narrow that only two people can pass. Suddenly, the grandeur of the Rialto Bridge rises before you, solid, imposing, like an arch that links not only shores, but centuries of trade and encounters. The surrounding market pulses with life. Scents of spices, fresh fruit, fish just pulled from the sea. Color floods your eyes, and every voice seems to add another layer to the city's melody. St. Mark's Square is the heart of Venice. Stepping into it, you feel as if you are on a stage where kings, artists, and travelers once stood. The Basilica of St. Mark's gleams with its golden mosaics, reflecting the light as if it were a fragment of the sun itself. The columns, the arches, the Byzantine details tell stories of power, faith, and art. There, the sound of the bell tower's chimes mixes with the flutter of pigeons rising in flocks. But Venice is not only grand monuments. It is also narrow alleys where silence reigns, broken only by the distant echo of a song drifting over the waters. It is the smell of freshly brewed coffee wafting from a small hidden cafe. It is the taste of tiramisu or creamy gelato savored in the shade of a bridge. When night falls, the city takes on another face. Lights shimmer on the water like liquid stars, and the cool air invites a slow walk. Restaurants lit along the canals serve fresh pasta and wines that warm the body. The music of a violin fills the space, and for a moment it seems as though the whole city breathes in unison with you. And then, in the silence of dawn, when the streets are almost empty, you discover the true Venice, not just a place, but a sensation, a mixture of melancholy and beauty, of eternity and fragility. A city that defies logic, but enchants precisely for being that way. Impossible, unique, surreal. But if Venice is a liquid poem, Rome is an epic carved in stone. It is time to move on to the eternal city.
Few places in the world carry as many centuries in every stone as Rome. Here, the ancient and the modern coexist side by side. Temples built 2,000 years ago share space with bustling cafes, and narrow streets lead to squares that seem like stages of immortal stories. Rome is not just a tourist destination. It is a journey through time, a city that breathes eternity. Arriving in Rome is to feel the weight of history in the air, the sound of traffic, voices echoing in Italian, hurried footsteps, all blend with the invisible echo of legions that marched centuries ago. It is impossible to take a step without encountering a monument that recalls the greatness of the Roman Empire. The Colosseum rises immense, imposing. Its stone walls, marked by time, still carry the strength of an era when crowds gathered to witness gladiatorial games. Walking beneath its arches, you can almost hear the roar of the arena, feel the vibration of voices, and imagine the dust lifted by battles. It is a place where the past feels so alive, it almost touches your skin. Continuing through the streets, you reach the Roman Forum. Ruins of temples and basilicas stand like grand skeletons, reminding us that here the destinies of entire peoples were decided. The smell of earth, mixed with the scent of cypress, creates an atmosphere that unites the sacred with the everyday. Each broken column is a silent witness of a civilization that shaped the world. But Rome is also made of fountains and squares, where daily life beats with intensity. At the Trevi Fountain, the sound of crystal-clear water dominates the space. Tourists and locals toss coins, each gesture filled with dreams and promises. The reflection of lights on the water creates a spectacle that is never the same. Each night, a new version of the same legend. Piazza Navona is another heart of the city. There artists paint, musicians play, and children run among Baroque sculptures that seem to dance in the golden light of sunset. And then there is the Vatican. Stepping into St. Peter's Square is to feel the spiritual weight of centuries of faith. The Basilica rises monumental, its columns embracing the space like welcoming arms. The respectful silence contrasts with the murmur of thousands of visitors. Inside, Michelangelo's frescoes in the Sistine Chapel make time stop. Every color, every detail seems painted for eternity. But Rome does not live only from its historical grandeur. It is also made of small cafes hidden in narrow alleys where the aroma of espresso fills the air. It is the taste of a simple plate of pasta served with care, accompanied by a local red wine. It is the smile of a Roman eager to share a story or offer a tip about a hidden corner of the city. And at night, Rome glows with a different light,
Golden lamps reflect on ancient stones, turning every ruin into a living sculpture. The streets echo with music, footsteps, and conversations, as if the city never truly sleeps. And from atop the Janiculum hill, the view reveals a sea of domes and rooftops, illuminated beneath a starry sky. Rome is more than a city. It is a feeling, a place where every corner holds a revelation, where past and present intertwine in an endless narrative, an eternal city, because even when we leave, it lives on inside us. And if Rome shows the grandeur of history, Tuscany reveals the simplicity of life in its most beautiful form. Let us follow its golden hills.
Tuscany is not just a place, it is a state of mind. Here time slows down, the gaze gets lost on the horizon, and every detail, a field of sunflowers, a glass of wine, an ancient stone, turns into poetry. It is Italy at its most contemplative pace, where beauty is found in simplicity. Arriving in Tuscany is like opening a window onto a Renaissance painting. The hills ripple gently, painted in shades of green and gold. Cypresses line up like silent guardians of the narrow roads, leading travelers along paths that seem to take them to another century. The air is perfumed by vineyards and olive groves, and each breath brings a sense of serenity. You walk along dirt roads that wind between endless vineyards. The soundscape is soft, the rustle of leaves in the wind, the distant song of a bird, the echo of your own footsteps. Suddenly, a medieval village appears atop a hill. Houses of golden stone shine under the sun, terracotta roofs stand out against the deep blue sky. In Siena, Piazza del Campo opens like a fan before you. The shell-shaped brick pavement leads the eye to the Torre del Mongia, rising elegantly and dominating the skyline. There, every stone holds memories of horse races, celebrations, centuries of communal life. Voices echo through the narrow streets, mingling with the smell of fresh bread and pasta prepared in small trattorias. Florence, the jewel of the Renaissance, is another heart of Tuscany. Brunelleschi's dome dominates the city, a masterpiece that seems to defy gravity and time. Stepping into the Cathedral de Santa Maria del Fiore, you feel small before the grandeur of art. And in the streets, the echoes of Michelangelo, Botticelli, and Leonardo still seem to inhabit workshops and squares as if creativity had never left the city. But Tuscany is not made only of famous cities. It is also the silence of open fields where sunflowers follow the sun's movement like a golden choreography. It is the freshness of the shade of an olive tree where the wind blows softly and carries the scent of warmed earth. It is the full-bodied taste of a Chianti wine enjoyed at a family-run winery where entire generations have devoted their lives to cultivating the same land. At night, the hills take on a magical atmosphere. Sunset paints the sky in shades of pink and orange, reflected on the fields as if nature itself were a painter. Small villages light up with warm yellow lights, and the sound of laughter mingles with the clinking of glasses. Sitting on a veranda, you taste a simple plate of homemade pasta and discover that perfection can live in the humblest gestures. Tuscany is made of delicate contrasts. It is monumental in its art, yet intimate in daily life. It is vast in its fields, yet welcoming in its villages. It is a place where past and present meet so harmoniously that they become inseparable. In the end, visiting Tuscany is not just a visual experience. It is a plunge into sensations, flavor, aroma, the touch of ancient stone, the warmth of the sun on your skin. It is an invitation to relearn what it means to live slowly, to appreciate, to contemplate. Tuscany is a reminder that beauty does not need to shout to be eternal. It whispers, and those who allow themselves to listen never forget it. From Tuscany's golden hills, we descend toward the deep blue of the Mediterranean. It is time to discover dramatic cliffs, colorful villages, and roads that seem to defy gravity. Welcome to the Amalfi Coast.
The Amalfi Coast is not just a destination, it is a spectacle. Every curve reveals a scene so breathtaking, it looks made for cinema. It is a place where houses balance on steep cliffs as if slowly descending to embrace the sea. Driving along the road that winds between mountains and sea, your eyes get lost in the contrast between the deep blue of the Mediterranean and the vivid colors of the villages. Positano appears like a living mosaic, houses in shades of pink, yellow, and white cascading down to the pebble beach. The air is filled with the scent of fresh lemons, the base of the famous limoncello. In Amalfi, the beating heart of the region, the main square is dominated by the Cathedral of St. Andrew with its monumental staircase. Climbing each step is to feel the weight of history mixed with the modern bustle of tourists and locals. The narrow streets hide shops of handcrafted ceramics, and every corner reveals new details. Ravello, perched high in the mountains, offers one of the most sublime views in the world. The gardens of Villa Cimbrone of Villa Ruffalo open to the infinite blue, a balcony that seems to touch the horizon. There, the silence is broken only by birdsong and the distant sound of waves. The sea, always present, sets the rhythm of life. Boats glide across crystal-clear waters, linking islands and hidden coves. At every stop, the smell of freshly grilled fish fills the air, and the flavor of the sea is revealed in simple yet unforgettable dishes. At night, the Amalfi Coast shines like a necklace of light scattered across the darkness. From a terrace, with a glass of local white wine, the spectacle is complete. Sea, mountain, sky, and town, in perfect harmony. If the Amalfi Coast is a poem of colors, Sicily is an epic of fire and tradition. We now continue to the largest island in the Mediterranean, where volcanoes shape the landscape and ancient cultures left indelible marks.
Sicily is not just an island, it is a continent in miniature. Mountains, seas, volcanoes, ancient cities, and intense flavors coexist in a land that seems to gather the entire world within itself. Mount Etna dominates the horizon with its imposing presence. The largest active volcano in Europe breathes slowly, releasing smoke and reminding everyone that the Earth is alive. Walking along its slopes is to feel the heat of the ground and to see rivers of petrified lava telling stories of past eruptions. Palermo, the capital, is a clash of cultures. Open-air markets overflow with colors and aromas, Arab spices, Italian pasta, tropical fruits. The sound of voices blends with the clatter of pans, creating a chaotic and fascinating symphony. Baroque churches shine with gold, while squares reveal Byzantine mosaics and Norman sculptures. On the coast, Taormina is a jewel suspended above the sea. Its still preserved Greek theater opens to a view where the blue of the Mediterranean meets the silhouette of Etna. Here, past and present intertwine in a single breath. But Sicily is also made of flavors. A crunchy cannolo filled with fresh ricotta, a golden arancino stuffed with meat and cheese, or a dish of freshly caught seafood. Each meal is a celebration, a memory savored with all the senses. And at sunset, when the sun sinks into the sea, Sicily reveals its most poetic face. The sky is painted red and orange, and the distant sound of waves creates the perfect soundtrack to close the day. From the heat of the south, we climb again toward northern Italy. Now we leave the sea to find mountains that rise like cathedrals of stone, shaped by time and ice, the Dolomites. The Dolomites are not just mountains, they are natural monuments, towers rising to the sky in such dramatic shapes they seem sculpted by gods. At dawn, the rocks take on shades of pink and gold. The phenomenon known as enrossadira turns the mountains into a living painting. Trails wind through green valleys where alpine villages rest peacefully. Crystal-clear lakes reflect the stone towers like perfect mirrors. The distant sound of cowbells echoes, mingling with the breath of the cold wind. At every turn, the landscape changes. Sometimes dense forests, sometimes flowered meadows, sometimes vertical cliffs that defy imagination. In winter, the Dolomites become a snowy kingdom. Skiers glide down the slopes, while lit cabins welcome travelers with fireplaces and hot chocolate. The silence of falling snow covers everything with a sense of absolute peace. But in summer, life bursts forth. Wildflowers color the fields, and the long days invite endless hikes. With every step, the immensity of nature reveals itself in its purest form. The Dolomites are a temple, an open cathedral, where every stone tells the story of the earth. From the dramatic heights of the Dolomites, we descend once more to meet the sea. Our next destination is a sequence of colorful villages that seem to embrace the cliffs. Cinque Terre.
Cinque Terre is a place that looks like it came out of a painting. 5 villages perched on cliffs, colored like an artist's palette, facing the infinite blue of the Ligurian Sea. Monterosso, Vernazza, Corniglia, Manarola, and Rio Maggiore, each with its own soul, but all united by the sea. The narrow streets are filled with colorful clothes hanging from windows, the aroma of freshly baked focaccia,
and the sound of waves crashing against the rocks. In Vernazza, the small bay holds boats resting like colorful toys on the crystal-clear water. In Manarola, houses in shades of red and yellow stack upon the cliffs, reflecting in the sea like a living watercolor. Corniglia, perched high above, demands effort to reach, but rewards with views that seem infinite. The trails connecting the villages are a spectacle of their own. The path known as Sentiero Azzurro guides travelers along slopes covered with vineyards and olive trees, always with the Mediterranean by their side. The scent of earth and sea blend together, creating a unique perfume. At night, Cinque Terre transforms. The lights of the houses shine like fallen stars on the cliffs, and the sea reflects their glow, creating a magical spectacle. It is a place where life seems simple, yet every detail holds infinite beauty. From the colorful villages overlooking the Mediterranean, we move toward the heart of art and human genius. It is time to enter the city that gave the world Michelangelo, Leonardo, and Botticelli. Welcome to Florence, the cradle of the Renaissance.
Florence is not just a city, it is a living temple of human creativity. A place where every street, every square, every stone breathes art. Here, the Renaissance was born, and to this day, the spirit of that cultural revolution lingers in every detail. Upon arriving in Florence, the first sight that dominates the horizon is the immense dome of the Cathedral of Santa Maria del Fiore. A work by Brunelleschi, it seems to defy gravity, rising in perfection above the terracotta rooftops. From the top of Giotto's bell tower, the view stretches across red rooftops, green hills, and the Arno River winding silently below. Walking through the streets is like traversing an open-air museum. In Piazza della Signoria, sculptures such as Michelangelo's David or its replica, to protect the original, recall the grandeur of human genius. Beside it, the Palazzo Vecchio rises imposingly, holding centuries of political and cultural history. The sound of street musicians echoes through the arches
as tourists and locals mingle in constant movement. The Ofitse Gallery is a deep dive into the Renaissance spirit. There are the delicate colors of Botticelli in Primavera, the strength of Leonardo's strokes, the intensity of Caravaggio. Each room is an invitation to contemplation, and the respectful silence of visitors reveals the sacred dimension of art. But Florence is also made of simple moments. The smell of freshly baked bread escapes from bakeries, blending with the aroma of strong coffee. In trattorias, fresh pasta is served with sauces carrying centuries of tradition. A glass of Chianti accompanies the meal, and each sip is a celebration of Tuscan land. By the Arno River, the Ponte Vecchio is a spectacle of its own. Its small goldsmiths and jewelers' shops cast golden lights on the water. At sunset, the reflection turns the river into a blazing mirror, creating one of Italy's most iconic views. Couples linger on the bridge, while violinists play melodies that seem to echo for eternity. And then there are the details. A hidden fountain in an alley, an old door covered in flowers, the sound of bells marking the hours from a medieval tower. Every corner hides a surprise, as if the city were complicit with the visitor in a silent treasure hunt for beauty. At night, Florence breathes calm. The streets, less crowded, reveal their most intimate side. Yellow lights illuminate ancient walls, and the fresh breeze carries the scent of nearby hills. It is in that silence that the true Florence reveals itself, not just the monumental city, but the lived, breathed, and felt city. Florence is more than a journey through art. It is a dive into the human heart, into the capacity to create beauty that spans centuries and still moves us. It is a reminder that true eternity lies in what touches the soul. If Florence is the city that gave life to art, Naples is the city that beats with intensity. And beside it, Pompeii is the frozen testimony of a tragic and eternal instant. Now we head south, where Vesuvius guards stories of fire and silence.
Naples is the explosion of life, a vibrant, chaotic, and passionate city, beating to the rhythm of voices, horns, and irresistible aromas. But alongside that energy rests the eternal silence of Pompeii, a city frozen in time by the fury of Vesuvius. Together, they reveal two faces of the same Italy, one of present intensity and one of immutable memory. Arriving in Naples is like diving into a whirlwind of sounds and colors. The narrow streets of the historic center are always alive. Colorful clotheslines stretch between old buildings, while scooters zigzag at high speed. The smell of pizza baking in stone ovens dominates the air, mixed with the aroma of strong coffee served in small cups at counters. Here, every corner seems to tell a story of families, of markets, of traditions that resist time. The heart of the city beats on Spacalapoli, the long street that literally splits Naples in half. Shops, churches, bars, and artisans blend into an endless sequence. You hear the loud laughter of Neapolitans, feel the rough texture of old walls as you lean on them, and see the intense brightness in the eyes of those who speak with their hands, in gestures that seem like choreography. Gastronomy is an experience in itself. Biting into a margherita pizza in Naples is tasting the origin of one of the world's most famous dishes. The thin and crispy crust, the fresh tomato sauce, the creamy mozzarella. Every detail is a work of simple perfection. And alongside it, seafood dishes reveal the flavor of the Mediterranean, always seasoned with generosity and passion. But just lift your eyes, and Vesuvius dominates the horizon. Its presence is both beautiful and threatening. The volcano that brought destruction in the past still stands there, silent, reminding us that the earth never ceases to breathe. Pompeii is the most striking testimony of that power. Entering the ruins, the feeling is uncanny. It seems as if time stopped in an instant. Stone streets still show the marks left by cartwheels. Houses with colorful frescoes preserve scenes of a daily life suddenly interrupted. And then come the human figures molded by ash, bodies lying like tragic statues, eternalized at the moment of catastrophe. The silence of Pompeii contrasts with the noise of Naples. While one city lives every second intensely, the other reminds us of the fragility of every instant. It is impossible not to reflect on life and death, on the present we have and the future that is never guaranteed. At sunset, returning to Naples is rediscovering its energy. Squares fill with music, young people chat animatedly, vendors offer sweets and local liqueurs. Life continues at a fast pace, almost as if daring Vesuvius to try to stop it again. Naples and Pompeii together are a powerful portrait of Italy, a reminder that beauty can lie both in the chaos of life and in the silence of history, and that at the foot of Vesuvius, everything is more intense: the flavors, the sounds, the loves, and the memories. From the vibrant south of Italy, we head north once again. Now we leave Naples' heat
to find the serenity of waters and mountains. Our next destination is Lake Como, an elegant refuge where nature and sophistication walk hand in hand.
In northern Italy, between alpine peaks and green valleys, there is a place where serenity meets sophistication. Lake Como is not just a landscape, it is an experience of calm, of natural luxury, of beauty that reflects in the gaze like a liquid mirror. As you approach, the first impression is the vast tranquility of the waters. The lake stretches like a deep blue sheet, surrounded by mountains rising with grandeur. The reflection of the sky and the villages on the shores creates a setting so perfect it looks hand-painted. Small boats glide slowly, cutting through the serene waters without haste. The shores are adorned with elegant villas, with flower-filled gardens descending to the lake. In Bellagio, known as the Pearl of the Lake, narrow cobblestone streets lead to charming squares full of cafes and artisan shops. The air is fresh, scented by flowers blooming from balconies. The sound is gentle, the murmur of the waves, the distant ringing of a church bell, the clinking of glasses on terraces by the water. Every detail reinforces the feeling that time has slowed down. Historic villas hold memories of aristocrats and artists who found inspiration here. Mansions like Villa Carlotta or Villa Balbianello reveal geometric gardens, sculptures, and terraces opening onto infinite views. It's easy to imagine poets and painters sitting under centuries-old trees, capturing the essence of this place in words and colors. At sunset, the lake transforms. The sun sinks behind the mountains, painting the sky in golden and violet tones. The waters reflect each shade, creating a magical atmosphere. From a terrace, with a glass of Italian sparkling wine in hand, you feel at the center of a world where nature and elegance embrace. At night, soft lights spread along the shores. Reflections dance on the lake, and silence gains an almost sacred quality. In that moment, Lake Como reveals its true essence, a refuge for the senses, a promise of peace that lingers in memory long after departure. From the serenity of northern waters, we reach the end of this journey through Italy. From Venice to Rome, from Tuscany to Sicily, from the Alps to the Mediterranean, each landscape revealed not only its beauty, but also a piece of the Italian soul. And now, it is time to keep this journey in the heart.
Italy is more than a territory on a map. It is a mosaic of memories, a symphony of stories, a dance between the ancient and the eternal. Each city, each village, each field revealed the beauty here is not the exception, it is the rule. From the waters of Venice to the silence of Pompeii, from the golden hills of Tuscany to the fire of Etna, from the peaks of the Dolomites to the deep blue of Lake Como, each step was an invitation to look at the world with more attention, more calm, more wonder. Italy reminds us that time can be contemplated in ancient stones, savored in a plate of pasta, felt in the wind that blows over vineyards, and that the true journey is not only in crossing landscapes, but in letting them cross through us. There is still much to discover, but what we have already lived in this journey proves a simple and powerful truth. Italy is not visited only with the eyes, it is felt with all the senses. And once lived, it remains forever like an eternal memory.